If you're looking to do some buying, selling, trading, low-end, high-end, medium-end, sealed packets, singles, repacks, if you're looking for guest speakers, food trucks, get your tickets for the Hobby Hangout in Melbourne. The date is the 5th of March 2023 at the Melbourne Pavilion in Kensington. For your tickets, head to thehobbyhangout.com.au. You'll find all the information that you need. Thank you so much to the guys at the Hobby Hangout for supporting the show. We really appreciate it. It's a fantastic day. Lots of really interesting things to do. Lots of interesting things to see. You'll always network with people, meet up with people that you've been chatting with online for years. It's always good to put a face to the name. So guys, check it out. thehobbyhangout.com.au.
Welcome everybody to episode 66 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We're your hosts, Russell Gibson and Adam Amy. And
Hello.
Joining us, back-to-back guests, Russell.
Yeah,
We're
we
really
normally like
pulling
to have
our
a
finger
break
out
between
for
guests,
January.
but it just sort of panned out this way, didn't it, mate?
I think all of January we had no guests, and then it ticked over to February, and it's like guest. You've got them lining up at the door, Russell.
People have finished their holidays and...
Charlie from Cherry is joining us once more. Welcome
buddy.
Aboard.
Yep.
Thank you,
this
guys.
This is round two.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, back again. I can recall our last chat was really fun. So looking forward to it tonight. Yeah.
So what was your recollection from the last chat? Because mine was how we found out that you have a love for Arnold. And
yes, yes, that's true. I spoke to somebody about Arnold again the other day, which means that I'm probably like getting old and repeating myself.
Oh no, the Grandpa Simpson repeating stories.
yeah, too much. Yes, we did talk about that. I recall we talked about sort of at that time we were still in sort of a hobby hype phase, and I think we talked a bit about content as well, and the remaking and posting and repurposing different kinds of content, which was fun, which I loved.
And then you guys had just recently opened the Tassie store, I believe.
Yes,
at that point.
Yep, that sounds right. Yeah.
So I think I want to start with Arnie anyway. So have you picked up any Arnie autos in the last 12 months?
No, but what have I got? No Arnie autos. I've only got the one, which I think my mum got me in like 1999. Like,
oh wow,
it was early internet days, and Arnold sold autographs on his website for like,
oh wow,
not very much.
Yep.
And she sent away and got me one year, and I reckon it would have been like 98 or 99. That's the only one I've got. Dale and Grayson tease me because they have two Arnold card autos. Oh. And there's one because there's a Terminator 3 set that had a on-card Arnold autograph.
Yeah, wow.
On like a Terminator card. Terminator 3, all the films after Terminator 2 are pretty horrendous, but that card would be awesome. And from another...
Which is the one with Christian Bale? That one wasn't too bad.
Salvation? Yeah. Yeah, that could have been really good. That's true. That could have been a really good idea because he was sort of a Terminator, but he didn't know he was a Terminator. That was an interesting idea. Yeah. And there's another Arnold autograph on card from a Batman and Robin set. So he's like...
that was a stinker. Wow. That was a genuine stinker, that movie. Yeah. That was,
It's now famously awful that people...
Yeah, it's so bad. It's good.
Isn't that the infamous Batsuit with nipples movie?
Yes, and like the huge crotch bulges and bat nipples. And Arnold, like, one-liner puns, like "ice to see you" and things like that. Like,
yes.
But there's for some reason that set has autos from all the people, like the main actors. It's got George Clooney auto,
wow,
Alicia Silverstone, what's his name, Christian Slater, Arnold,
Chris O'Donnell,
yeah,
yep,
Arnold, and I think like everybody in it was like
Uma Thurman.
Imagine doing Uma Thurman, like imagine doing that with a set now, and you'd have every actor from the film in it. They just don't do that
What's a case of that set you back these days? That almost seems like a good rip.
Yeah, I don't know. You can still find it. The
Yeah.
autos, most of those autos, I think, are graded. That's why Dale teases me, because he sends me photos of it occasionally, because he's got that one and he's got the Terminator one, and he's not sure what he's going to do with them yet. And he'll send me pictures of it, like, like you don't have this, basically, like. But
oh my god! Do you think?
Yeah.
All right, so you'd be the man to ask. Does Arnie have a rookie card? Because I know celebrities like their first printing, effectively.
Yeah, the Arnold rookie card, I'm pretty sure, is from a very limited Total Recall set, which I've got a couple of just because they're so much fun. So it's sort of in the middle of his movie star career, or that awesome section in the middle where it goes like Total Recall, Terminator 2, True Lies, that sort of phase. So it's in the middle.
Where he sort of transitioned from like Conan to like the Butch roles to the Terminators, where he became an actor, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
And you got to throw a kindergarten cop in there as well, right?
Yeah. There's no set from. There's nothing from Terminator. There's nothing from like Kindergarten Cop or Twins or so the earliest set that I know of, I think, is that Total Recall set, which I believe was never actually released. You can only find it in like boxed sets. It was probably meant to go out in packs, and it never came out in packs and like sold at milk bars or whatever. So the only way you can get it is in like these little boxed sets from like I think it's 1990 they came out. And that's a fun set because you're like, wow, imagine if there were like packs of Total Recall cards at the news agency. I would have been all over it.
Yeah, for sure.
In 1990. Yeah.
And now that we've gone down the lowbrow...
I'm Googling the Batman and Robin set, by the way.
Like,
yeah, nice.
We've gone down the massive crouch pockets, and we've gone down the nipples. And isn't Total Recall when the lady had 3 mammary glands?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I can't. If she got a card, she might have a card in it.
She has to have a card. There's no way you could
right?
not give us a scene card for that.
It has to be acknowledged. I don't know.
Oh my god!
I know there's a whole mass of boxes here, and it would take too long for me to find it. But it's in there.
That's fine. That's fine. So, any big pickups the last 12 months? It doesn't have to be Arnold. Anything,
No,
anything
not
you just
really.
added.
I did get some cool packs from the National in the States when we were over there.
Yeah, wow.
So nice.
There's a pack of Fright Flicks with the Predator on. That was like, it's an 80s horror movie set from Topps, which I wish they would do again, but it would be, I don't know how they did it at the time, because it would have to be a licensing nightmare, because it's got so many different films from all different studios. So it would have been a mess. I don't know how they did it, but that's a cool pack. I just learned, I liked it for the pack art. That's the
It's very 80s, isn't it?
Yeah, the Alien set.
Yeah, nice.
Oh wow!
And it tells us about dramatic 18-inch Alien action figures on the back that you can get from Kenner, which is another fascinating story. And old school Incredible Hulk Lou Ferrigno pack as well. They're probably the coolest things. They're the most interesting things that I've got in recent times. A couple of autos that I've got that I think this one I pulled in store from WWE Revolution, and it just makes no sense to have the Undertaker in this with this sort of sparkly background. Like, it should be dark and purple and
it's just like the opposite of the Undertaker's feel. Yeah,
exactly. It makes no sense that he's there. Like, if Hulk Hogan is on that card, fantastic. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But not the Taker.
It's very Hollywood, yeah.
Yeah. And the other day, we were looking at WWE Chronicles, and the Big Sexy Diesel came out so I had to have that one, which is a fun card as well. That's the sort of that's where I'm at with cards. Don't talk to me about Luka Doncic.
So without going sort of too deep down the wrestling rabbit hole, Panini has
Yeah.
released a whole bunch of wrestling. Like, what's your perception or, your interaction with that so far?
It's been really fun. First of all, if you're in the wrestling card world in the last year, it was a massive roller coaster ride for
Yeah. Because it
for
spiked
everybody.
hard, didn't it?
Yeah, Prism
Yeah.
came out and it spiked super hard up to over $1,000 a box.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Debut WWE Prism, and I think you can now get it for like $300 a box. So a huge correction. I remember Grayson saying at the time he had some big boys in the hobby, some of the sort of whales contacting him and others for cases of WWE Prism. So his theory was that they thought there was something in it like the Rock autographs or something like that.
Yeah.
He thought that's his working theory, is that he thinks that these big guys in the hobby who just sort of buy volume of sealed stuff and then sit on it, they thought there was potentially Dwayne Johnson autos in it, and then they discovered that there isn't, and so they got out of it all, and that's part of why that product spiked so hard. But that was a big deal for wrestling collectors because they weren't used to that level of fluctuation in price. And people who were sort of collectors who were already sort of across that because they do basketball or they do football and they were already familiar with Panini stuff in the other sports. They were trying to tell some of the longer term collectors of wrestling stuff to people from Topps era. They were like, no, this is no joke. These boxes can spike quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so there was a big schism between the sort of newer collector and the older long-term collector who's not used to that in the wrestling community. Similar to what's happened, I think, here with AFL collectors, not being used to what can happen with this newer person in the hobby. Whereas previously I buy the folder for Footy Stars and I buy packs until I get the set, and then I put the set on the shelf, and then that's done.
Yeah.
And that costs me not very much to do that.
That's a grassroots style of collecting where you're like, every week I go down the newsagents and I buy a single pack or two, and if they've got the folder, I get the folder, and once they've got the folders back, I know, and you've got your spare, your doubles, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, that's
sort
right.
of that base set collector, and they've got a couple of inserts, but they use that to acquire more base cards.
Exactly. Yeah. So that came to. There's a lot of people in that wrestling community still. Yeah. And the newer collector over the last, we'd say since sort of, we could go back to sort of 2015 or 14, has not infiltrated that far into wrestling yet. Yeah. And so there was a huge fight between all these, especially on Twitter. Like if you're on wrestling card Twitter last year, it was a big year on wrestling card Twitter. It was maybe the biggest.
So I think the big pop culture thing for me at the moment is the Kyrie trade. Did you catch up with that today?
I just saw the news when I woke up this morning. I saw a couple of things getting shared around. Yeah, and
so who do you think won the trade? What's your sort of take on
Lakers.
it?
The Lakers won the trade because they didn't get Kyrie.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he is a far out guy, and a bit of a menace. So if you're a Mavs fan, I think you're probably nervous at the moment. I'm not sure why they I'm not sure they need another point guard
but they need
Luka.
someone that gels with Luka.
Mm.
And look, if Kyrie wants to play second fiddle to the next generation of LeBron, which is what everybody's like, Luka's putting up these crazy numbers and doing LeBron-esque things.
Yeah.
Cool. Kyrie's like, well, they won't, because apparently the Nets didn't want to deal him to LA just out of spite and for other reasons, apparently.
Yeah.
KD said no. He didn't want a reunion with Westbrook.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, Doncic is the next LeBron. So if he's going to go over and do the play second fiddle again, the younger, more, he's got more in the tank, I guess. And someone said in the socials that Luka's shoulders will have won the trade because a bit of weight will have been taken off them.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, there's not really anyone else there. I don't know what they've got to do with that team to make it more competitive. It's a funny one because it feels like
Cuban makes some weird moves.
Yeah, it feels like he needs to go elsewhere, and then you'd look at there'd be other people like Giannis managed to get one, so that's fantastic.
Yep.
Then there's somebody like Jokic, and you think he really should have a championship under his name before he retires. That's somebody who should have one as well.
Yeah.
And you wonder how are they going to put it together in these, lesser
markets
franchises.
Yeah, it's interesting that they got rid of Dinwiddie in the trade. And when they got rid of Porzingis and acquired Dinwiddie, it was like, oh, that's a really good pickup. Now they've sort of moved that piece on. It's interesting. It's just is Kyrie the piece? I'll take to historical Twitter if I can.
Yeah.
Now, in August 30th, 2017, I've been told that Kyrie is ecstatic. Word of the day, ecstatic about the trade. Looking forward to playing for Brad Stevens and understands the Celtics tradition.
Oh yes, he played at the Celtics, didn't he?
That's right. Now, today's tweet, Kyrie Irving is said to be ecstatic about this trade to the Dallas Mavericks.
Oh man,
and is looking forward to joining forces with Luka Doncic. League sources tell. So yeah, when Kyrie's ecstatic, we know that things are going to go swimmingly, I guess, in Dallas.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Luka is special, obviously. I feel
for Luka.
Yeah, I feel like he needs to get on another team somewhere, or get somebody in the paint for him that is going to be able to complete on that side of things.
Do you think Dallas have one more trade or one more move before the trade deadline that's going to give them a final squad, or are they going to look for pieces off waivers or something in the post trade deadline, or is this it? Is this the move?
There might be, yeah.
So was it Markieff Morris? Morris brothers
They got the Morris brother that can shoot threes. I always get that confused. It's like there's the one that can and one that can't. I'm pretty sure they got the one that
explanation.
can. Yeah.
One of them can shoot threes. This is the one.
So
unless he switches with his brother.
My take on this, I think Dallas got the best player. I don't think you can dispute that in a trade. But there's two really interesting components for me. The first one is how far has Kyrie fallen that's all the Nets get back? Essentially, you're getting back Dorian Finney-Smith. And for me, that's the part I'm really sort of, maybe not struggling with, but I just think that to only get that back for Kyrie, and some people actually have said, well, that's a really good return for him because maybe you would have even expected less than that and not to get any picks. And then the other part for me is, the Mavericks are taking a swing here, and if it works, it's a very low risk move for them because then essentially you've just freed up all that cap space. Yeah. Or he does stick and he does work, and then you re-sign him. Then, so you're saying before about making another move. I would imagine it's going to be very difficult for them to add another piece before the trade deadline. So my sort of feeling is they see how this sticks, and then next year they'll
Mm.
try and add that sort of third, piece of the big three to them, because I think the problem with Dallas, really what they're going to have is if they don't begin to win in a significant manner in the next sort of 1 to 2 years, I think that puts a lot of pressure on them to really do something crazy and almost swing even harder for the fences, whatever that would be.
As soon as Luka gets upset, they're in trouble, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think
why not bring someone that's going to really escalate that whole upsetting Luka thing, like Kyrie Irving? Like, why not?
Well, the funny thing about Kyrie is, like, if you do think about who he has played with, like, he has played with LeBron and, excelled. He has played with KD and, they had a really good month of basketball. I think, without stating the obvious with Kyrie, it's just whether he can get his head in the right spot or not and do it.
But before the trade, before he demanded a trade, everything seemed to be going well in Brooklyn. Like, it was, smooth sailing in Brook. And before he got the word Brooklyn out, Kyrie puts his hand up for a trade.
Yeah, so I think that part of it is not so much the on-court performance. I actually think it's because they wouldn't re-sign him. So I think the management, like Kyrie's management.
So you don't think it was he put it to bed at the start of the season and went, I'm going to wait until the trade deadline, and then if they don't sign me by this date, I'm getting it out there and forcing a trade before the trade deadline. I think
if they didn't trade him before deadline, he would have left the team and then they get nothing. So at least now they've got Dorian Finney-Smith and, and Spencer Dinwiddie, whatever happens with him, So, look, I think hobby-wise, this is not going to be bad for Kyrie. So if you've been sitting on a heap of Kyrie in it, and let's be honest, it had tanked the last sort of 12 months, I think that's a good thing. I think as fans of the show, we were pumping up Spencer Dinwiddie when Brian Forsman came on. So
I think Dinwiddie would be very interesting in Brooklyn.
He's really done nothing the last couple of years, and his prices are still incredibly low. Like, you can get silvers of him for sort of around $20 or so. Yeah. And look, unless something magical happens in Brooklyn, I can't really see any movement there. But I think
Simmons
maybe
starts shooting threes. I don't know.
Yeah, Simmons, I think we talked about him last week. I think he's pretty cooked. But I think the one probably to watch is Dorian Finney-Smith because, he really does have the... So if you think about it and you look at the Brooklyn rotation now, he's going to be a key cog. Like, if he doesn't play 33 to 36 minutes a game, I'm going to be shocked about that. Like, I think... Yes, Dinwiddie is important in this, but to me, the main piece of this trade is that. So that's the guy who I'm probably, going to be looking at to see his, price go up over the next couple of months. I think that's the one that I like. So the next NBA story I think for me is the big one is the mo.bamba Austin Reeves scuffle. So Charlie, what do you think that Bamba whispered in Austin Rivers' ears before they went to the ground?
Yeah, I don't know. I just looked it up before I came on because I hadn't seen it.
It's a decent scuffle, actually.
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it.
It had the potential to be like Malice at the Palace too.
I don't think that's going to ever happen again.
What, Malice in the Palace?
They changed so many things to prevent that from happening again. Like, there's 20x extra security a game, and all the penalties for the players leaving the bench. Also too, they've been enforcing that rule too, because players this year. So the Magic had 4 or 5 players leave their bench, and they had, I think, 8 or 9 players suspended, and they actually had to split the suspension over 2 games because otherwise they literally wouldn't have been able to field a team. So
right.
Dip into the G League would be an interesting game.
Yeah.
So I think there's one of 2 things. I think it's to do with him playing for Duke. I think that's one thing. I think the other thing is his podcast, or the other thing is that he's essentially a daddy's boy because
I was going to say, who's your daddy? Might have been
played for his dad when he was for the Clippers, but must have been something because he's not the type of guy to really go off like that.
No, it's bizarre, isn't it?
Maybe they're fighting over women. That's the other thing that
you're asking Charlie what he said because Charlie's the meme master, right? For Cherry.
Well, I know Charlie enjoys the sort of the entertainment side of it, so I thought he might have had a theory on this.
Look, fully the entertainment is what it is. Which podcast? Might have been the Andrew Bogut podcast, I think, in the last couple of days, where he was talking about that entertainment aspect of it and trying to communicate that to younger players. I think that it is essentially, like it's a product. People are coming to see the product, and so there's got to be something that's entertaining about it. It's got to be, whether it's is LeBron going to get the scoring record, or is somebody going to shoot the lights out, or is there going to be a fight, or things like that.
Who is Bogut pitching this to? Is he pitching that to current players or people who's in the media?
I believe he was talking to. It was in the context of talking to younger players, people who are playing now, like current professionals.
Yeah,
I think regarding the NBL. So
that's really hard to manage, isn't it? Because you could imagine coaches wouldn't really want to entertain all that sort of things that could be perceived as a distraction. Whereas, at the end of the day, like that Bamba and Austin Rivers fight probably got a whole bunch of clicks, so
it definitely gets clicks, but it's just simple things like celebrations and going over the top and drawing a bit of attention from the media is where the entertainment factor, and obviously the more clicks it's a business. There's TV rights involved, there's all sorts of things as far as the entertainment aspect goes.
Yeah, that's right. It's got that. It's got to have. He likened it to the WWE in that they have an advantage because they can plan things, and everything can be choreographed, and we know, okay, this is going to happen, and then we're going to put the belt on Brock Lesnar, and we'll give it to Brock for a while, and we'll see how the market reacts. And then maybe we'll, at WrestleMania, he's going to fight Bobby Lashley, and then we'll switch it out again. So it was interesting to hear. It was interesting to hear a professional athlete like that talk about it in that sense, because it does. That I wasn't going to watch that match, but I'd look at the fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you to our sponsor, EJ Cards, a small but motivated company specializing in cards. EJ Cards believe passionately in great bargains and excellent service, which is why they commit themselves to give you the best of both. If you're looking for something new, you're in the right place. EJ Cards strive to be industrious and innovative, offering customers something they want, putting their desires at the top of the priority list. Find EJ Cards at www.ejcards.com.au or shop 394 to 398 Middleborough Road, Blackburn, Victoria, and also find them on Facebook. Thank you very much, EJ Cards, for sponsoring us.
Makes sense. Now, I'm gonna segue to something that wasn't on the run sheet. You mentioned it. LeBron is about to break the record. How is this sales wise? How do you guys find? Like we knew it's on the cards for this year. Now, if I were a betting man, I would be suggesting that LeBron's going to drop less than 35 on against the Thunder, so he can break the scoring record against the Bucks, which is a team that obviously Kareem played for, as well as the Lakers. All about narrative, but card wise, has there been a real uptake with LeBron just at a small level or a high end level? People been investing or trying to jump in on LeBron's in general?
I don't know. Dale would be the one to ask that question, but I would imagine yes, there'll be a little bump in interest around him. People who have been perhaps on the fence, or they've been thinking about it for a while. Maybe I should get into a LeBron rookie, or maybe I should buy that LeBron insert or whatever. This happening will sort of cement it for them, and they'll go ahead and get
I need a LeBron in my PC. This guy is the highest scoring player in NBA history.
Now I need to have. If I didn't already have a nice LeBron, now I need to have one. So I better find one. So I imagine yes, there'll be a there'll be a bump in interest around LeBron when he busts. Is it this? It's going to happen this week.
Yeah, well, my money is on it happening Australian time Friday or Thursday's game.
Yep.
So Thursday night's game. It's the 9th of February in the States. And the 7th of February is the OKC game. He needs, I think, 36 points.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's not doing it. He's definitely not doing it there. Yeah.
And look, he can drop 40 if he wants, but I don't think he wants to do that against the Thunder. Nah. I think he'll wait until he's playing against the Bucks.
See, now this is where we get into WWE territory, because this is clearly planned by LeBron, by his team, that he does it at the Staples Center against the Bucks. That is not an accident. Clearly.
Yeah, I was going to say, once it got sort of close, you can
bet on it. So it's
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm tempted to open my sports bet account so I can have a look and see what LeBron under 30 points or under 35 points is.
Yeah, I imagine Kareem will be at the game.
For sure.
All of
he
that.
said he was going to be there, and he's said he's going to be nothing but supportive, and
I
spoke
don't
about
think
legacy
Kareem would
and
ever think that record was going to be broken, and the fact that LeBron was even getting close, it's amazing. And
he would have knew the last couple of years, I reckon, because I feel like this has sort of been, sort of bubbling underneath the surface for a little while now. And
LeBron versus Father Time. I think if anyone's come close enough to beating Father Time, LeBron is getting damn close.
He's just unbelievable, isn't he? He's like a machine.
I reckon he wants it. He clearly wants it. It's been what he's been chasing. Yeah, I think you're right. For the last few years, I guess he's like every year he's like, okay, how does the body feel? It's feeling pretty good. I reckon I could go again. And so he just keeps going again. And I reckon
his bucket list.
I reckon it's what he wants, so that he can say, I am the greatest. Like, there's no argument. I've got the championships. I've got the how many other records has he broken? Like, there's other ones that he's broken as well. Now I've beaten Kareem, who's a GOAT. So now I'm the best. I've surpassed Jordan. That's what he wants. 100%.
I mean, I suspect though that Jordan fans will still not acknowledge that. It'll just come down to the championships that's been won and lost, and then But I mean, look, I've grown up in essentially just a LeBron era, and so I'm actually trying really hard to think, what was basketball like sort of pre-LeBron, because of I'm 40 now, so essentially for the last 20 years, and it's all I've watched. And look, actually, I'm very grateful for the experience, because I think he's I've said this before. I think he's a really good role model. I think the way he has his schools, and he never has bad press. He doesn't have criminal charges coming forth and all that type of stuff, and just he's been such a great ambassador for the league. And whether you love him or hate him,
he's going to he's going to leave a huge hole in basketball when he finally retires at age 73, whenever it is.
How many more years do you think he's got, Charlie? Because I could see him doing 3 or 4 more years, to be honest.
That's how
he's already developing.
He's out there.
And he's already developing this sort of under the rim, old man game, and I assume he'll just get bigger and bigger and just sort of just stand on the low block and shoot fallaways, I suppose. Like, why not?
Yeah, I reckon
he wants to play with his son. That's literally the goal, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Wants to play a season.
So that's 2 years away, right? So because his son's in high school and he'll go to college next year, and then the year after that he'll come to the league. So that's still a little while away. He's still got 2 or 3
years left.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's
Look,
body willing, he'll be around for a while.
He can pay for a lot of like fruity Joe Rogan cryotherapy that will take care of the body. So that'll all sorts of weird blood transfusions and all of that sort of stuff that will keep him fresh enough.
Cryogenically frozen.
Yeah. Just put LeBron into storage.
It's like he's been put on ice for the rest of the season. No, literally, we've cryogenically frozen him for 6 months.
Yeah.
Have I told you guys my HGH theory about LeBron?
No.
So I'm convinced he's using HGH, and
Probably.
I more believe it so that it's not so much to increase his physique, because you saw him when he came into the league at 18. He was like bigger than 85% of the league.
He was
already,
a Mack
right?
truck.
But I think it's for his recovery, and I really, I'm this thought in my head is so firmly planted. The other thing is they don't test for HGH at the moment in the league. They test for other types of steroids, but not specifically HGH. And so my theory is that the day he retires, the day after that, they'll introduce a testing protocol for HGH. So if we can just bookmark this conversation for 3 years down the track.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. The conspiracy will be unveiled. We'll have a
I
Netflix
should be wearing my
special that will
tinfoil
be
hat right now. That's what I should be
This
doing.
episode will be dragged up for the Netflix special.
Yeah. Adam spoke about memes before, Charlie, and do you make all the memes for your socials and stuff like that, or do you steal them from other people? And yes, you steal them, or yes, you make them?
Sometimes I steal them. Sometimes I appropriate memes from people.
Yeah.
Mostly what happens, yes, I make them all, mostly what happens is I go to a few little websites that I use in the morning that a lot of people use, I think, because I see people doing similar things. There's a few different Reddit boards. 4chan is always good. Twitter, Facebook as well. Anywhere that you see memes, you can, and if they're about, a hobby, that's when you can easily switch. You just switch it to cards. So if it's about fishing, switch it to cards. It's about cars, switch it to Pokemon.
Yeah,
that's easy to do. And then the ones on Reddit, that sort of stuff. That's where you're going to see, that's literally like going out to the meme fields and harvesting the freshest memes,
and then harvesting fresh memes.
Do you show them to your wife, or do you show them to Dale, or do you just kind of chuckle and then you're like, oh yeah, that one's sweet, like it's good to go, or do you just sort of just roll them out?
I pretty much just push them out, and sometimes I push them out and I'm like, I don't know about that one.
We'll see.
We'll see. Usually it's okay. I do. You do have to, because we are a business. We can't be as loose with it as somebody like James or Octane Collectables. Those guys
really push the envelope.
Very funny. And because they don't, they don't have to worry about upsetting tops.
You don't want to have to employ a legal team to screen the memes.
Yeah, so those guys can go a bit harder. But I really enjoy it. That's one of the funnest things to do, is try and get something like that out every day. At the moment, I've managed to do it every day. Some sort of a meme out every day, which is great fun.
It must be a nice feeling. And it's like, not many people get to say their workday starts with harvesting fresh memes.
You
can actually tell your wife.
I make my coffee, I harvest some fresh memes,
and tell your wife you're working when you're actually like on Twitter. That's actually pretty good.
Head out to the meme fields and like sift through them and find, this one looks pretty good. Let's use that. We'll put it in. I literally have a folder here called memes not used yet, and it has
to meme or not to meme.
Oh. It has 300 something files in it.
Okay.
That because if I see them, I just save them and then I put them in the memes not used folder. And when I don't have any imagination, I know I can go and use those ones because I've already sort of put them in the bank, and that's an easy one. And for days when I'm not feeling very creative, I can go into that folder and just
go
repurpose an old one like that.
Yep. Don't feel like harvesting today. We'll go to the meme bank and just
exactly.
Brilliant.
Can we please zoom out a little bit and just get your perspectives on what's been happening in the last, say, 18 to 24 months in the hobby? Because we've been talking about a downturn, and I think I'm stealing Adam's IP here, but I think the way that Adam described it and what sits best in my mind is that there was a period of time where people were just overpaying. It's not so much that, the hobby went crazy, but, now we look back and we're paying, say, $50 or $100 for a base rookie card, or, $300 for a PSA 10, base rookie card, really.
All that FOMO because of the product shortages, I guess. You've got people paying future prices for cards because every card is selling for 10x what it did 12 months earlier, and everyone's like, oh my God, we're all going to be millionaires.
And then the narrative became that, the hobby's tanking and that the hobby's no good and, the bottom's falling out of it. And, there was all that sort of, internet chatter, if you want to use that sort of phrase. So I suppose
the sky is falling, the Chicken Little sort of, yeah.
Look, and I've got my theories about, what happened and what has been happening and all that sort of stuff, but I'd really like to sort of hear your perspective about it and what you've observed, in the last sort of 18 months or so.
Yeah, it was that sort of, 18 months is probably where you would peg it if you went back to sort of the middle of 21. That was probably the craziest that it got in 21. 22 towards sort of February, March, we started to notice things beginning to cool off. I think February, March last year.
And how do you measure that? By the number of orders coming through, that your breaks are just a little bit slower to feel, or, what's your sort of metrics on that?
It becomes, and sort of later into the second half of last year, things were definitely cooling off in terms of people like filling breaks taking longer, or customers not able to pay what they were previously paying because they've seen cheaper options. And it was almost like it was like a perfect storm with the hype of, people at home. For many people in Australia, still managing to stay employed and in work.
Yeah.
And so having money that they would usually spend going out or holidays or whatever. And now I've still got a few $100 in the bank. A friend of mine is a card collector. He says I should get into cards because everything's going up. And then a rookie year that excited people in LaMelo's rookie year. Everybody, we'd had Zion the year before that, Zion and Ja, which was crazy exciting. And then we had LaMelo the next year, and everybody wanted to pull a LaMelo rookie card, a LaMelo auto. So it goes to a new level because now everybody's like, oh, LaMelo, we've got to get LaMelo cards now. Because I think if we had somebody this season in the rookie class, an equally as exciting rookie year, it wouldn't have dipped as much. I think it would. People would still be, oh, we got to get onto, because who was it?
So after LaMelo, it was Cade
and Scotty Barnes.
After Cade, it's Banchero,
and then it's Banchero. But
Banchero
is an interesting one.
That's going to be an interesting one. That's the huge kid
in Orlando.
He's pretty built, yeah.
What's that huge, like, stretched out kid? Is that next year?
He's coming in next year. So that's Wembanyama and
yes. But then there was Chet that got injured.
Yeah. So I think if it's definitely been a normalizing level of hype. Like, it was crazy the amount that you write about things like base rookie cards got up to. And, like we said earlier, people paying $1,000 USD for a box of WWE Prism because of all the hype that went around that.
Yeah.
And now it feels like it's settled. Yeah. in the last
Well, we spoke
probably 2
about
months.
we spoke with Ryan from GemRate on the last episode about grading numbers, and very simply, there's not people sending hundreds of thousands of base cards to get graded. I suppose that correction took place a little bit earlier than what we're experiencing now, but people have sort of learnt that you don't grade base cards. Like,
Well,
if the population of a card is 20 something thousand.
He actually said this last night, and we probably didn't pick up on this enough. He actually said half of the backlog was base cards.
Yeah, but that became blatantly obvious. It was like everyone was just like, let's submit all our base cards, and then PSA and BGS started upping their prices, and people went, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, maybe with the grading rates, it's also changing the landscape, and we might not have as many. We're going to have quote unquote investors in the hobby, but I don't think that now things have started to normalize that the get rich quick club are sort of sticking around for the market correction. A lot of them have sold out and moved on to the next fad, I guess, for them.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's definitely true. Yeah, those kinds of people came in. That's right. They were like they see something like, holy shit, you're telling me you bought something for X and you sold it for Y. Wow. Okay, I need to get into that.
Yeah.
And now they've I guess there's a lot of people like that in the world who go from whatever it is to the next thing, and that's okay. They find it.
You have waves, but you've got people coming into the hobby, and this also generated quite a wave of new interest and new blood of collectors. Like, not everybody's an investor. Not everybody's in it for the short term. A lot of people hadn't been exposed to it, have now been exposed to the hobby, getting into it and enjoying it and going, wow, this is a really cool space. There's some great people. I want to start collecting. I'm start my collecting journey. Or younger people that have got their first job have now got enough income to buy trading cards. But
so there was a really great graph that someone drew that showed the supply of cards sort of between 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, and basically the supply of cards, the graph was just sort of showing like an upwards arrow.
Yep.
And then there was on the same axis the amount of people coming into the hobby, like just driving up that demand. And basically there wasn't enough cards printed, to meet that demand. That's what caused the spike.
Yes.
And now the current situation we're in is actually the opposite. All those people have left, but then the supply of cards has gone right up.
Yep.
So now what you're seeing now is like, so for me, look, the way I interact with the hobby, I have a budget and I stuck to my budget. And yes, I have to admit, I wish my money had gone further, at particular times, but in saying that now, I think my money is going, much, much further than what it is. And so actually I know a lot of people left the hobby and, some people might even have a bad taste in their mouth, but I actually feel like now is like a very fun time. I feel like breaks are a lot more affordable. Singles at the moment, I just feel, I don't know. I just feel at the moment like there's just so many, good cards and, good deals out there.
Yeah.
And something that, we don't talk on the podcast, Ad, and this is something I've sort of been wanting to talk to you a little bit offline about, but we talk all the time about, tracking how much do singles cost, but we don't track how much sealed costs. And that's something that I wouldn't mind actually sort of, try and build into the show. So for example, I didn't win this auction, but it was something I bid on in the last couple of weeks. I didn't put my bids in properly, but it was a 3 blaster auction. So it was a select blaster, an optic blaster, and a prism blaster. It closed at 71 USD. So, that's around like 110 Aussie. And probably by the time you got it posted back out to Australia, like if you're being realistic, it probably would have added another $20 or $25 to your bundle. So let's just say you're getting it for $135 or $140. Like to open those 3 blasters, like, can you imagine, like, some of those 18, 19 blasters were selling for and still are for like $300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's how far we've sort of, come down and sort of, changed down the track. So
yeah, Yeah, well, it's nice being able to impulsively, I'll say, be out and about, go into, for argument's sake, a Games World or an EB Games or even Kmart and that, and just still see product
available.
Because there was a period there where you couldn't find any basketball product on the shelves because they weren't making enough.
Yeah, but I do wonder at the moment, though, that buying sealed in auctions is a really good play at the moment because
possibly.
So I think there's a couple of things that's happening. Again, we spoke about this. There's a lot of it out there. The demand is down, but also I think people bought this stuff and it was kind of like, I'm going to make coin off this.
Yeah.
Now the market's flipped around. They're kind of like, okay, well, I'm not going to make coin off it. I might as well, liquidate it in the best way that I can. And the best way to do it is 99-cent start, 9 or 7 day auction, and then stuff like that happens where it's $71. And I suspect the person who did that didn't put coin into their pocket because by the time you pay your 16%
they
to
got
eBay
their coin
and
back. Yeah,
well, they got a little bit back, right? But
well, it's better than not having any it's liquidity, right? That's what they're not these people that bought cases and cases of Prism hobby, and went, I'm going to put this away for decades, and quote unquote invest in it. They wanted to get the quick flips out of it. The quick flips aren't happening anymore because there's enough product.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and obviously sales figures will affect Panini's print runs. And we investigated this a while ago as far as all the different parallels that they added in order to still give out a decent coverage of parallels, but give out more product.
Yeah.
Like you add different parallels so that you're still getting the rare cards, you're numbered to 199, you're numbered to 99, but then there's a bunch of unnumbered parallels that they top the product with so that, they can get more product out there, but with more product and less people, the demand slips off. So it's a cyclical thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was, especially given the shutdowns that they had at the printing places. They just that was the other factor of huge amounts of people coming into the hobby, and then we literally aren't able to print at the moment. So there's no cards here, Chopper. Like
exactly.
And there's nothing to send it to anybody because we haven't been able to print. And so that just exacerbated it in a huge way. And now we do have, where it should what you said just earlier is what should happen, is that people are able to walk into a Kmart and buy a blaster or a few packs of cards.
For particular products, I definitely agree with that. Hoops, Prism,
like
Donruss,
those retail SKUs of Hoops, of Prism, etc.
If we're walking into EB Games and buying iMac, I think that's when we genuinely should be worried about the hobby because, that would be terrible, and that really means something, bad's happen. And look, and I suppose
I shouldn't laugh at that. I actually went into the reject shop when I was about 16 or 17 and bought a box of like Skybox, and they were $1 a pack. Like it was $50 for the box or something. And that's what it was like in that junk wax era.
Yeah.
They made that much product and they just wanted to clear it. But I don't think high end's ever gonna go into the retail space. I mean, I think the hobby's well constructed in that sense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But if you ever see National Treasures at EB Games,
I would say
better pick us up a pack
it's
each.
over.
But practically too, I don't think the distribution would be like the deals wouldn't be made like that. And probably Charlie, you can speak a little bit better to this. Like, Banter is not filtering it into, all that retail stuff into, and vice versa, like Panini doesn't want all that hobby stuff going into EB Games. Like that's not there.
No, that's not what people go into Kmart or EB or Target to get. They want
different part of the different element. Yeah.
they want a $5 item or a $10 item that fills that hole, and they don't.
Parents
they don't
want
really
a
care what it
$10
is.
item or a $5 item. With their kids
Yeah.
looking at the basketball cards, they're like, we don't want to pay $40 for a deluxe hoops pack.
Yeah.
We want like $3 to $5 for a pack of cards for our child who just played a good game of basketball on their Saturday morning domestic game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
this is probably a good spot to segue into our next question, actually. So the next question is, what is your opinion on Fanatics launching their own live stream shopping for trading cards and collectibles? And the sort of the second part to that question is, where do you think Fanatics starts and ends with their user experience? Because that second question, just hold on to that, I sort of thought a little bit. That's a very leading question for me because I've got a very pointed topic I want to raise with that. So
first part was Fanatics Livestream, wasn't it?
Yeah, so basically what they've done is they've created their own shopping center that is interactive, I suppose. That's the best way to say
it. Yeah, give us a rundown on this one. I'm not up to speed with the product that they're trying to deliver.
So in America at the moment, Facebook groups, and I would probably say to the same degree, have taken a little bit of a step back in terms of the selling space.
Yeah.
And people are actually using live platforms to do. So, for example, break spots, they actually go up for auction, and then in real time, people put in their bids and then pay for their spots, and then the teams get random off, and then you do the break. So there's none of this 7-day auction time and all this type of stuff. And then you pay a percentage of that to the company, and then that's like the platform that you use. So my take on this is essentially Fanatics is trying to use their massive position in the hobby because of how much of the licensing that they've purchased up, and then create or borrow the best ideas from a different platform, which is Whatnot. This is what I'm talking about now. And then tap into that, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that they would do something like that, call it whatever, Fanatics Live, because the prevalence of the way that Whatnot has grown in the States, it's not a factor here in Australia at all yet,
due to the shipping constraints.
As a shipping issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's literally.
But it's not even on the is it on the App Store here?
No, you can't.
I wouldn't think so. No,
it's not even on the App Store here. I mean, if you could have a version that was just geolocated to Australia, I think Whatnot would run fine.
You can definitely do that if you got the inclination to do that. You can do that, but not
the same volume, same level. Yeah.
So it would. So clearly, I mean, when we were in the States last year, when we met people and said we were from a card store, what the first thing they asked was who we were on Whatnot. So they didn't ask on Instagram, they didn't ask on Facebook, they didn't ask on eBay. The first thing they asked was, what's your username on Whatnot?
Yeah, right.
Wow. So
it is a massive, massive factor in the States. So, if something like that comes over here, when something like that comes over here, you would jump on it.
Are you guys working on a platform like that?
No, we don't. We've been approached by one. We've had some complications getting the inventory across to the app correctly. Which has been a pain in the ass. And then you're trying to troubleshoot things across time zones, and it's a real nightmare. But we would, if there was one that we could use, tomorrow, we would be on it, just merely for that factor of how big it is over in the States. I think for Fanatics, it makes sense that they would try something like that because they can, if they're going to be the boss of cards and they're already the boss of jerseys and authentic memorabilia and helmets and signed shoes and signed jerseys, then why wouldn't they do something like that?
Does it create? Do you think it creates problems though?
What's that?
Does it create problems if they're the boss of everything and they're also not invading, but operating in the same space that like a business like yourself would operate? I feel like they have a distinct market advantage.
I don't imagine. I imagine they would have like an official like Fanatics auction house or whatever, however they wanted to run it. But it would be. I imagine. I don't know. Maybe not. I imagine they would run it like Whatnot, where they make the platform and then people come and put their business or they build their account on top of the platform.
So it's more of a working in conjunction rather than competing against.
Yes, probably. Yeah.
I guess. Because I go back to, and I haven't used my most common phrase early days, but regulating the hobby, I feel like it's a conflict of interest in some aspects. Where it's like, hang on a second, these guys have all the stock. They can do what they want with it. So everybody gets a little bit and they've gone, oh, but we've got more. Come to our shop, come to our platform, look at what we've got. It's, it rings alarm bells and sets off some red flags for me.
So you can look at that in two ways though, because the first way you can look at it, you can say, well, it is regulating the hobby and then it does sort of remove all of those unscrupulous type breakers that, have done terrible things. So for example, whether you love them or hate them, backyard breaks, like they did some fraudulent activity. I don't think anyone like disputed that. There was also that breaker that held the razor blade to his employee's neck. Like, I think that if those type of things left the hobby, we would probably be in a better space. And if, you know what I mean? Like so in some ways, I don't mind that. On the flip side of that, though, I think what it does do is it does create a monopoly. So, for example, if your Fanatics is printing the cards, they're then selling them direct to people. So they've cut out all the distribution companies. They've cut out all the, the shipping. They've cut out, the middlemen. Then they've cut out the breakers. So let's just say they've cut out at least two people. And then after that, you can take their cards directly to PSA because PSA is part of that investment group, if I'm correct. And then you could then ship directly back to your, home address. And I think that was one of the things that if I remember correctly in the manifesto, what they were trying to talk about was creating something that was A, reliable, but also B, was sort of like a one-stop shop so that you don't need to sort of, go here to get your cards cleaned and go there to get your cards polished and then go there to get your cards graded. It was just kind of like this sort of continuous experience that someone could sort of have. So
I definitely think Fanatics are considering the end user experience. But I just think as far as the space as being someone that wants to operate a business in their world, you're right. Monopoly is probably the right word. Their world is Fanatics are going to show you how it's done, and you need to operate this way. And that's not regulating it; that's dictating it.
But the other reason why, I do think that they will create their own breaking platform and not have other people selling on it is because how many billions of dollars did these guys pony up for?
It's a big deal.
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So I don't think that...
But they make a lot of their money off the distribution side of it. It's like double dipping.
I don't think you can be like, oh, you're going to spend $1 billion and then not think to get that $1.2 billion back. Like, you also can't... I can't think of the right word to say here, but you almost can't be sort of naive to think that they're not going to be out there to try and maximize their return as much as possible. And
but when I talk about regulation, I talk about insider. Like, on the stock market, you get knowledge about things, right? And they call it insider trading. You're not allowed to use trade secrets that's not supposed to be common knowledge to your advantage.
So, like, I think
this is where I think
where they could manipulate it would be case hits. So, backyard breaks was like, again, famous for that. They were like
famous. Is it infamous?
I think the social media work they did around that for me is all time. Charlie, actually, I should ask you guys this. What did you think about like that video where he was sitting there like sipping his apple juice, saying that you should come onto Backyard Breaks?
Oh, such a great response
Yeah.
to all of the hype, the speculation, the videos, the Twitter threads.
It was immaculate.
Yeah,
they got themselves trending pretty hard.
Yeah, apparently we pull all the good cards, so come and buy cards from us.
Why wouldn't you come to us? Yeah. And the other thing that I suppose for me sort of ties into this and also ties into a little bit of the last 18 months, for me, it's obvious to me the people who are getting squeezed out is kind of like, the middleman. So for example, the people that were buying boxes and trying to flip them now for profit, like that margin is not there anymore. And if anything, actually you could lose. Yeah. And not that I'm asking for sympathy for breakers or anything like that, but I know and I would probably say that, Cherry's experiencing the same thing. The margins just aren't there anymore. And the reason why that I know this is because you're seeing breakers are just dropping out like flies at the moment. The amount of time that it takes to, procure stock, list a break, break it, sort it, post it, blah, 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 blah. And then if you're just breaking even for it, like what's the point of doing that? And so I think that squeeze is already happening. And
yes,
if Fanatics implements more of that, I think that squeeze is going to be even more. So I'm really interested.
I think they covered breakers, didn't they? Like Luba was very explicit about the way the breaking experience. I don't want you to list a break and break cards. That's not breaking anymore. Breaking is a form of entertainment. And we spoke with this about with a year ago with Forsman. Brian was like, it's not just list and get it running. It's a show. You've got to put on a show. You've got to have a bit. You've got to be able to do a bit. It's not just a functional process anymore. I mean, you guys, you've got Blake that you know what I mean? Like
he has an awesome mustache. It is like epic. Yeah.
But it's not just break cards.
That's right. Yeah. It's the bar has been raised, and that's, in response to, that makes sense when a lot of people come into a space like ours. Then the standard is slowly going to head up because people are going to think, well, I can do better than that, or I can be more entertaining than that. And so the standard sort of heads up as a result. And that aspect of that thing about it being a show and it being entertainment is correct, I think. And that's something that we've tried to address at Cherry. I know Blake tries to address it and works really hard. It's one of the reasons that we've got another show on now with Laker in the mornings, and while we're doing an extra show on Saturdays as well.
When you say show, do you mean that's when you break cards?
Yeah.
Like another session? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So Laker does a morning session 4 days a week, I think, or maybe just on the weekdays, maybe 4 or 5 days a week. And we've got for Laker's session, he's got a producer there with him so that there's a bit of banter back and forth when they're talking about stuff. They're talking about cards, they're talking about what they've been doing at work, to give it more of that show aspect. Because I think it is. I think he's right about that. I think people do want the market, and people in the market have shown that it's not just some hands in front of a phone screen and we open the cards and then turn it off and that's it.
Yeah. So when I set out to do my breaks, my goal was actually, of course, I wanted to do breaks, but I wanted to actually do a podcast at the same time. But my issue is that I could never do the podcast good enough that it was anything worth talking about. And then I couldn't multitask and do the cards at the same time. So
yes.
I think having a producer
either.
there actually makes so much sense, because then if Laker is concentrating on the cards and, doing that aspect really well, and then there's a big card coming up, you're giving that, it's like appropriate sort of, mileage. And then in the sort of doldrums of a break, if he's, I don't know, whatever, tidying up his table, and then the producer's sort of, filling all that time with, something interesting to say. So I think that's actually a really, really good idea, and like a fantastic implementation.
Yeah. It's something that I'd always thought in the back of my mind in sort of 2019, 2020, if people come into this space who are, like we've mentioned, backyard breaks, people like them. If people come into this space, they've got hype cards, they've got lots of money to buy extra stock, and they can be like the Jackass guys, or they can be like Barstool Sports sort of guys.
Yeah.
They are going to clean up. And that's precisely what happened. They combined the whatever you want it, whether you love it or you hate it. I could take it or leave it. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes not. But the
overall experience. So if you don't hit a card, at least you've had like a couple of laughs. And I think that actually,
and I thought
it's so obvious, isn't it? When you say it like that, as simple as that, like it's actually,
it's the end user
combining those personalities, and then you can build out those personalities with their own social media accounts, and then you've got then you've got the beginnings of card influencers and stuff like that, which we've seen over the last couple of years. That was always my thought, and it's a difficult one to implement, to have.
If I'm offered a job to be a producer on a card breaking site, Adam, I'm leaving, mate. And I'm quitting.
Waiting for you to offer me a job as your producer.
I'm quitting my job.
Break the cards.
That's it.
Provide the entertainment.
This is my epiphany of tonight. Thanks, Charlie. I appreciate this. This is delicious.
I think our Saturday mornings are going to change very soon.
One of my ideas has always been like to have like Blakey come out, because he used to do stuff. Now he's probably too busy. He can't do things as often. Like sometimes like a Halloween, he'll dress up, or we get like last year we got WWE Impeccable and he dressed up like Kane for that stream, that sort of stuff. That sort of stuff is fun.
The too busy excuse doesn't fly. Don't let him get away with that. Yeah.
I'd like
good enough, Blake.
Whether it's Blake or Dale or somebody like that to come in with like a tray of hot cherry pies on the tray, like
legit, like ones, literal cherry pies.
Yeah, like literal cherry pies. Do that sort of dumb shit from Saturday morning cartoons.
Do you know what they need to? You know what needs to happen on March 5th at the Hobby Hangout?
Oh, beautiful!
First thing, as soon as it opens, Dale's got to come in with a plate of hot cherry pies.
Yeah, with like smoke coming off him. He's got on like the baking.
Chef's hat.
The chef's hat. He's got the baking, like whatever they call that jacket.
Kiss the cook apron.
The apron, that's what it's called.
The Hobby Hangout. That's not far away.
Did you get up to Brisbane on the weekend?
No, we didn't get there.
Did Cherry go or?
No, none of us could go. We can't get to the Brisbane ones.
Yep.
We get down to. Dale has had a road trip planned for a while to go on a sort of buying trip, like a Australian pickers sort of adventure, which would be awesome to go along with in sort of a masochistic way.
You need to go and record that and make it into a TV show.
You need to take a camera crew with it and just make it into a TV series.
You've got a producer already. You can do like the content. You need to like narrate this and make it happen.
It would be it would be like...
There would be some funny stuff that would happen. You would see some amazing cards. You would see all these
you would,
negotiations. You could kind of like drum up the suspense. The drums like, is he going to buy the card or not? That'd be awesome.
It'd be an awesome one to do. Definitely. I was definitely going to go and visit him some days on the trip. I think like fly in when he gets to certain cities and then film stuff there. But yeah, it'd be like The Odd Couple is what it would be like if I was on the trip with Dale. It'd be like Dale, the angry man who doesn't want to talk and is having a horrendous time, and then me who was like trying to make him laugh the whole time. He doesn't want to laugh.
The gold.
Yeah.
This actually does sound really good.
Yeah.
Can we just plug the Hobby Hangout just a little bit more, Ad? So www.thehobbyhangout.com.au.
Get tickets. Plugging, Russell, because you're not going to be there.
I will not be there, yeah. So tickets are still definitely available for the Melbourne show. Get down to it, guys. Yep.
We'll
Food
be there
stalls.
too.
Yeah.
We'll be there in Melbourne, and we'll be at the Sydney one too. So I think Sydney is towards the end of March, maybe the 26th. Yep. But we'll be in Melbourne as well, yeah.
Awesome, yeah. No, we're looking forward to Melbourne.
Trader stations, sealed packets, mystery packs, singles, food trucks, guest speakers, the whole thing. It's really well organised, so definitely check those guys out.
I'll be there with a little handheld mic to record some stuff. I might be doing some live questionnaires and bits and pieces. I haven't decided what I'm doing down there, but
Andrew's put some space away for you, mate, to do some podcasting.
A corner, the naughty corner. This is going to put me in the
quiet corner.
Quiet corner.
Yep.
That doesn't fly for me. I'll get kicked out of the quiet corner.
So, lads,
being too loud.
We've ticked over an hour and 15. Charlie, did you want to finish off with anything in particular? Any final questions for us? Or we've hammered you pretty hard this last hour.
No, it's been fun. No, nothing really to add. I think we've got an exciting few weeks of new cards coming. I think Donruss is soon.
Donruss clearly I saw has been advertised already.
Yes.
And Donruss Elite. So I'm assuming that's coming up before the official Donruss.
Looking forward to cracking a LaMelo rookie card. I'm just going to keep flogging that dead horse about...
They're not that far behind. Come on.
I feel like it.
Yeah.
And I think the one that I'm super excited about is it Immaculate or National Treasures?
Flawless is coming, man. Yep.
Wrestling, I think. When is that one?
Oh, wrestling. That doesn't even come up. Come on. NBA Flawless is coming. That's what we should be talking about.
Nah. No,
that's nothing.
I think it's at NT Wrestling I think it's NT Wrestling, which is going to be great fun.
Yep.
That's soon, I think. There's already some people busting that. No, that's all from me. Thanks again for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
It's always good. It always ticks over the hours. Plenty to talk about, plenty of segues.
And let's try and make our next one not 12 months down the track. Let's try and do it, say, 6 months away or something like that. Because I thought 12 months was just a fraction too long. That was, yeah.
We'll tee up something with Blake or Dale. And I think it'd be great to have a chat with Dale.
Mm-hmm.
Just about...
How angry is he before we get him onto the show, though?
He's more grumpy than angry.
He's... Yes. Yeah.
Is he a pessimist?
He's not.
He's cynical. Come on.
He is great fun. He is. Grayson will back me up on this. He is probably like if there's a LeBron.James of the card market and card market knowledge, and the ability to predict and things like that. He is probably it for the planet. He is extremely. There wouldn't be many people in the world who are better at what he does than him. So
the card clairvoyant.
Yeah,
let's get him on.
Yeah, but he does get he gets too many eBay messages, and he gets too many support tickets to answer in the day. So that's where the anger comes through.
All jokes aside, he does post some of the messages that do come through. Do you guys give him like support and or counseling to deal with that sort of online abuse. Like,
no, but he should have it.
He should definitely.
No, so like a big thing in the last, I would say 2 years in workplaces has been about supporting people with their mental health, right?
Yep.
And like, I was actually thinking about some of the reading some of the messages he got. It's like that must be like a load on your shoulder, and the Luca shoulder thing. Like, yeah.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
but yes. No,
well,
Dale's a unique individual, and we'd love to have him on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and have a lovely night. Charlie, thanks again for coming on. Adam, good to see you, mate.
Pleasure as always.
Thanks everyone for listening, and take care.
See you next time.
Thanks.